Hey, it's Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and welcome to the Black Belt Leadership Podcast, where each week I'm giving you tips, tools, insights, and resources to help you become a better version of who you are and what you do as you discover, develop, and deploy your own Black Belt leader within. Hey, I want to talk this week about an interesting topic: camping at the closed door. Now, I had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago to hear from USA Today best-selling author and pastor Nick Nilsson. Now, Nick shared a very interesting analogy as it tied into a talk that he was giving on relationships. I thought served as a really good setup for the leadership lesson I wanted to share today. So I want to paraphrase what I heard Nick share at a recent event I had an opportunity to attend. So think of relationships in your life as a bus ride. You're on a journey heading into your future, wherever that might be. As you get on the bus, you know exactly where you're going and how long it's going to take to get there. But as you're getting on the bus, certain people are going to get on the bus with you. And for some time, you're all traveling together. You're all heading, at least for the moment, in the same direction. And then the bus pulls up to a station. The doors open and some people get off the bus. Some people stay on the bus. Other people step onto the bus for the very first time for the next leg of the journey that you're still on. So for some time, you and this new eclectic group of people are all traveling together. You're all heading, at least for the moment, still in the same direction. And then the bus pulls into another bus station. Again, some people get off the bus and some people stay on the bus, and other people get onto the bus for the next leg of the journey. And for some time, you're all traveling together and you're all heading, at least for a moment, in the same direction. And then after several more stops, you finally arrive at your destination. So as you depart the bus, you get off. Some people get off with you. This too is their destination. Like you, they have arrived and they've got no farther to go. Still, other people are going to get on the bus as it continues on its journey to go somewhere else, but where they're going is not where you need to be right now. For this moment, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So, what happened? Some people got on the bus with you. Some people got off the bus early. Some people got off the bus later. Some people go all the way to the destination with you. Not everybody who starts the journey with you is going to stay to the end. That's okay. Other people are going to join you on this journey called life later on, and they're going to travel with you for a season, but they too will depart before you get to the end of the line. That too is okay. But some people were going to go with you, and they're going to stay with you for the entire duration of the journey. Now, that to me is a beautiful visual of relationships that ebb and flow throughout our lives. And it makes us understand and appreciate that for a moment in time, we may have people in our life today that may not be with us tomorrow. And we may have people that are part of our life tomorrow that are not part of it today. But we're also going to have some people that are going to be with us for our entire lives. And I think that's valuable. And that really brings me to today's personal growth insight. Because as you and I go through this journey called life, we're going to encounter not just a number of people, we're going to encounter a number of doors. And each one of those doors is going to represent a door of opportunity, a door of a challenge, or a door of something else. Now, some of those doors, when we arrive at a door of opportunity, is going to be open, simply inviting us to step through and walk into what's next. Other doors that we approach are closed, and we may have to knock on that door to gain admittance. Other doors are open, but they may be guarded by a doorman or a bouncer, and they've got to grant us admittance, and we've got to be allowed to go into that room. Now, still other doors we may come into contact with, like the old Western saloons, the doors swing easily both ways. And all we have to do is simply choose to walk through. Some doors, like the futuristic doors of Star Trek, open automatically when we approach. Other doors we have to push, other doors we have to pull. Still, there's other doors that are locked. And we've got to find the key to unlock the door to cross the threshold and get to the other side, or we've got to ring the doorbell and get somebody on the other side to come unlock the door and let us in. Now, other doors may be unlocked, but they may be stuck or jammed and they don't easily open. And that's going to require that we apply pressure to push the door open or pull the door open and pry it in such a way that we can pass through to the other side. Now, all of these doors represent the opportunities and challenges that you and I face as we go on this journey called life. These doors represent life. Love it, leave it, hate it. This is life. Now, we like it when the doors are open and we can easily step right through. We can see what's on the other side before we venture into the threshold of what awaits us. We don't like it when doors are locked and we're denied admittance. When we have to ring the doorbell or bang on the door or ask the doorman or the bouncer for permission to enter, we don't necessarily like that. Maybe we can see or we know what's on the other side. We've been told it's amazing, but we don't like being held back from what we would like to experience in our lives. We also don't like it when we have to push or prod or pry to forcefully open a door of opportunity that won't easily open. But sometimes for a door of opportunity, that's required. We all want to gain entrance to those amazing doors of opportunity, but we don't like to have to exert ourselves. We don't like the stress and the sweat and the strain to push a door open that requires some effort on our part. And sometimes a door of opportunity does. Our goal is to nudge that door open just enough that we can squeeze through to the other side and get to the opportunity that awaits. Now, think about what happens once we get in the room on the other side of the door. Whether it was unlocked, it was locked, the bouncer let us in, the you know, the guardian of the door let us in, whoever it is or whatever we had to do to get inside. Once we gain access and we're in the room, things are great, at least at first. We like what we're experiencing and we enjoy it because it's new and it's different. But after a while, the new begins to wear off. And what was once new and exciting slowly becomes dull, boring, humdrum. As long as it's not something we loathe or hate or despise, most of us are okay with settling into a routine and enduring the daily grind. This, for most people, is life. And when this happens, we get stuck where we are, as we are, and nothing changes in our life from that point forward. Now, for some of us, that's okay. And for about 95% of the world, they're okay with living an average, mediocre, lackluster life. And maybe that's you today. But there's a good 5% of us that are growth focused. We've got a growth mindset. We've got a possibility thinking brain that is always looking for what's next. We're those individuals that are driven to be constantly learning, growing, maturing, and expanding ourselves so that we can see and seize the opportunities that are waiting on us to step through those open doors. We are constantly looking for the next door of opportunity. So what do? We stay persistent in the process of personal growth. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this door of opportunity reveals itself to us. And it begins to invite us to open the door and step into what's next. Now, interestingly enough, even in this 5% of people that are engaged in personal growth, for many of them, simply getting to the door is as far as they go. They see the door of opportunity before them. It's unlocked, and it's beckoning them to simply turn the knob and step through the threshold to walk in to what's next for them. They've done all they can to prepare themselves through daily personal growth, and they can see that everything they've done have prepared them for this moment to see and seize this opportunity. But sadly, oh so sadly, they simply stare at the door, wanting so badly to get to what's on the other side, but they refuse to turn the knob. What are they doing? They're camping at the closed door. Now, as I've often shared, you and I, we are all creatures of habit. Our brain loves the familiar. And if given the choice, our brain will automate much of our daily routine, as much of it as possible, to where we can be living as much as 95% of our day every day, living life by default on autopilot. We do the same things the same way over and over again. In biological terms, it's homeostasis, but in terms of leadership and personal growth, we call it status quo. Now, if we go back in time, in the evolutionary process of humanity as a species, our brains were taught to fear the unknown. All sorts of dangers existed outside the safety of the tribe if we go back to the tribal era of our ancestors. When they ventured into the unknown, outside the safety of their hut, their cave, or their small community, it was a scary proposition. There were things out there that would eat them, that would kill them, that would poison them, and they had the potential of dying. Every time they ventured outside the safety of their compound, it could literally mean life or death. So the amygdala, that part of our brain, it's a little almond-sized gland inside of our brain, began to program itself to respond to danger anytime it was perceived, whether real or not, by triggering a fight or flight response. So for countless generations, what's happened? This hardwired response in the amygdala has been passed down generation by generation by generation through our DNA as a human species. So by default, our brains, your brain, my brain, everybody's brain is designed to see anything that is unknown as a threat or something that is potentially dangerous to our welfare and our well-being. Now, did you get what I just said? And have you made that connection? Anything our brain perceives as unknown, even if it's potentially good for us, is perceived as a threat. Our brains are going to push back in an attempt to protect us from what is perceived as a danger or a threat because it is unknown. Now, that unknown includes every door of opportunity and every opportunity for success that is before us. Because we have to get out of that uncomfortable or get into that uncomfortable place where growth happens and success is realized and get outside the status quo for that to happen. But if we never venture inside the door of opportunity, we never turn the knob and step through, we never really have the chance to see and to seize and take advantage of what was on the other side. We leave success lacking in our lives because we're camping at the front door. Now, think about that. Success awaits us on the other side of the door of opportunity, but until we turn the knob, until we push the door open, and until we step through to the other side, do we ever have a chance to learn how to say, do, experience, or become more. We never experience success until we put ourselves in a place where success can happen. And success only happens when we get outside our comfort zone and get into that uncomfortable place where we get to try something new. As a result, that door remains closed, and we're simply camping at the closed door, wishing what could be, but never having the opportunity to experience. Now, that in itself is sad, but there's a second part to this story that I want you to think about. Because there are some of us who are going to eagerly open that door of opportunity when we see it. We can't wait to embrace something new, to embrace something innovative, and to step into something that is potentially life-changing for us. So what do? We throw the doors wide open. We burst through the threshold, getting super excited about taking on a new challenge, the opportunity to learn something new or up-level ourselves in some way from what we're already doing or becoming. But then comes the hard part, actually having to do the work that is required to see, seize, and master that opportunity. That means we've got to learn to do things we've never done, or we've got to learn how to do things we're accustomed to doing in a new and different way. We've got to adapt to new challenges. We've got to adapt to new people. We've got to adapt to new circumstances. That is stressful. That is hard. It's taxing. And all of a sudden, our amygdala begins to pick up on cues. This is the unknown. When we step into that uncomfortable place on the other side of the door of opportunity, it demands more of us than maybe we anticipated before we stepped through the threshold. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves overwhelmed, questioning whether or not we made the right decision. And for some of us, we turn our heads and we start to look back, wondering if we can go back through the door to the land of the familiar. So what do? We open the door, we walk back through, we close the door, and we pitch a tent, wondering what could have been. Or maybe for some of us, we want to go back to the door of the familiar, and that door is locked and it will not reopen. So, what do? Rather than moving forward with the opportunity that has been presented us when we step through the door, we pitch the tent and we look longingly at that door, wishing we could go back to what was easier, wishing we could go back to what was more comfortable, and wishing we could go back to what didn't demand so much from us. We want to go back to the status quo. Once again, we're camping at the closed door. Now, there's a very practical lesson I hope you're picking up on already. And if you're not, let me take a moment to expand upon it as we talk about camping at the closed door. Sometimes a door must close to steer you towards the next open door. Now, think about that for a minute. Sometimes a door must close to steer you towards the next open door. Okay, John, what do you mean by that? Well, maybe for you, it means there are people in your life who need to exit the bus so other people can come on board that have the skills and talents you need to help you get done what needs to get done when you get to the end of your journey and you set out to do what it is you're going to do once you get there. Maybe it means for you that you've been passed over by a promotion, and that being passed over by a promotion for the third or fourth or fifth time finally gets you to realize you're not valued and appreciated where you are, and you finally begin to look for a better place to utilize your skills and talents where you're going to be truly valued and appreciated and can make a greater commitment. Maybe for you, that door closing means the company that you've held this dead end job at for so long closes its doors, finally forcing you to walk away from a job you hated, but you didn't want to walk away from the paycheck to seek different employment opportunities or to start your own business. Or maybe it's finally becoming an empty nester. All your kids are grown and gone, and now you've got the time to reinvent yourself, to invest back in yourself by maybe going back to school, maybe learning a new craft or a trade, or maybe it's launching that entrepreneurial business that you've always dreamed of doing. And now you have the time and the resources to commit to do that. But the challenge for each of us is this: making sure when the door of opportunity presents itself, we don't just stare at it, choosing instead to camp at the closed door rather than opening the door and walking through to what's next. Because if you want to be more successful, if you want to lead yourself and others at a higher level, you can't stay camped at the closed door. You've got to find a way to open the door and step through to what's next. So, how much of our life is wasted staring at the door of opportunity that's before us and choosing not to venture inside? Is it days? Is it weeks? Is it months? Is it years? How much of your life has been wasted staring at the door rather than opening it and stepping through? How much of your life has been wasted by looking back at what was, lamenting, mourning, or fantasizing over the past that you can't go back to, but wishing that you could? Days, weeks, months, years, maybe decades that you've allowed yourself to remain stuck where you are as you are, nothing changing in your life because you refuse to leave the door you're camped at? That's some interesting questions that each and every one of us need to think about. How much time have you wasted camping at a closed door rather than embracing the opportunity you know is right there in front of you, and you know the challenges that are going to come with it, and simply commit to doing what is required to become a better version of yourself so you can take full advantage of the opportunity that's waiting on the other side of the threshold? One last thought on doors. Some doors we know need to close. And when we know the door needs to close, go ahead and close them. Other doors never need to be opened. Or once those doors are closed, they never need to be reopened. Don't open a door that never needs to be opened, and don't reopen a door that needs to remain closed. Now, still, there's other doors, those doors of opportunity that are waiting for you. Pack up your tent to step through the threshold and to step into the greatness of what's next for you. So here's my question. What are you waiting for? Pack your tent, pick up your bags, and step through the next open door. Your successful future awaits you on the other side. I'm Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.